Farm, that's Stan Van Gunny, that's Smitty, and I'm Chris Miles. The Lakers have been rolling since their opening season loss to the Clippers on Friday. They had their hands full as well tonight. Look, the Houston Rockets, Brooklyn Nets, two teams certainly out there with a great early start tonight, Smitty, for those two.
Yeah, and that was interesting for me, Stan and Chris. I was looking forward to watching the Rockets on their sides defensively. I know they scored 159, but when you give up 158, I wanted to see what they can do defensively and also turnovers. And then on the Brooklyn side, I like what I saw from Kyrie. The 9 assists, also just the way he carried the tempo, getting guys involved, and then he took over in the fourth quarter, Stan. I think that's the way he has to play.
Absolutely, and he got everybody involved tonight. And then, like you said, when it was time at the end, it became ISO against ISO. Kyrie against James Harden, and guess who won that battle? Kyrie did.
All right, let's get to the highlight. You speak of those two. The leading scorers in the NBA so far this season, James Harden and Kyrie Irving, and it's the Rockets who blasted off early. Russell Westbrook, under the rim nominee, Smitty.
Yeah, it is. I mean, I love him in one-on-one situation and fast break situations, and this guy is pretty good at half court to be able to get where he wants to because of his handles, and that is a nominee, and that's against Kyrie. Clint Capella's the guy for me, Coach. I want to see more just the lobs. I want him to dominate defensively and rebounding.
Yeah, no question. He's great catching the lobs. He's great on pick and roll, but when Harden's missing shots like he has been early in the year, he should be cleaning up down there.
Harden, 36 points, 8 assists, 5 rebounds. His cold shooting, we'll have more on that later. Kyrie Irving knocking it down from outside, then Karis LeVert finishing. You know, the Nets balanced scoring, 3 players with 20 or more, LeVert with 25. We move to the second half. Russell Westbrook, big stat line for him, 27 points, 8 assists, 7 rebounds, 4 steals, and we're tied at 68. But on the other end, Taurean Prince, another guy with over 20, 27 for him. And that's Garrett Temple.
I just love Garrett Temple.
Yeah,
I love to have that type of guy on my team.
Great signing by them to get a solid veteran guy who can play multiple positions.
How about that defense from Russell Westbrook coming from behind? And that's the effort you want to see from the defensive end for the Rockets. Down by 9, James Harden still ice cold from the field. He's been struggling over and over so far early in this season. Harden, 10 for 31 in this one, 2 for 16 from three-point range. Taurean Prince having no issue shooting. But what is that? That's an image of our guy, 3D.
No threes. I guess that meant switch everything.
I'm
not sure. I'm just guessing.
Yes, I'm whatever their three-point defense is, I'm switching, don't foul, whatever it is, but I like it.
Brooklyn Nets needed the win. They get it 123 to 116. Here's Karis LeVert following the win.
Coach has had a great game plan. You know, obviously they got great guards over there, but Coach had a great game plan, and I think we executed it to the best of our abilities today.
And you guys trailed by as much as 15. What does that say about the gut and heart of this team? Because you guys have lost a lot of close games.
We started off kind of slow. You know, I was in foul trouble early. They were doing a good job of corralling Kai early in the game, but we knew it was only a matter of time before we broke loose.
So James Harden to start this year, it kind of looks familiar to the start of last season as far as, look, his points still 36 a game, but the shooting percentages are down even further than they were to start last year. Why do you suppose, Stan, that Harden's having an issue with his shooting early in the season like this?
I don't know. I honestly don't. Players go through this. I think the least of Mike D'Antoni's worries is James Harden shooting the ball and scoring the ball. It's not a good start. That'll come around. I think he's got to be more concerned. Are we ever going to guard anybody?
I'm with you, Stan, and I think the only thing I would nitpick is I don't think a great player like James Harden should go 2 for 16 from the three-point line. When you're that good and get to the free throw line, I'd rather see you struggle, missing shots inside, but to keep launching threes and the way you said it, Coach, the way they play defense, I need some better balance because those long threes is like an outlet for other teams. For him, I would love to see, and I don't think they'll do it, Coach, just to maybe put him on the block sometime and let him operate from inside the three-point line versus having to dribble and go through everything to get shots when you're struggling.
That's heresy in Houston right there. We don't shoot twos. We shoot layups, free throws, and threes. Smitty, post up? We don't post anybody ever in Houston.
Well, they better change when you're not making shots, Coach. And I know you got to stick with your philosophy, but I just think sometimes just basketball is played in a way where the closer you are, and when you have a great player who can pass, he's going to suck the defense, and it's easier for him to make shots, and he's crafty enough to be able to draw fouls.
No, there's no question. I mean, the guy's shooting 16 free throws a game, so
that's
he can get
how he's
there
keeping
all
the
the
scoring
time.
average up.
And when he penetrates, if people come, he's a great passer. So he certainly has other things that he can go to. But look, if that team doesn't guard, like they're the second to worst defensive team in this league. If they don't develop some sense of urgency about that, the Lakers are going to guard. They already are. They're in top 10 defensively. The Clippers are going to guard. Utah is going to guard. Houston cannot compete to win the West if they're going to play defense like this.
Yeah, like you said, the Lakers came into tonight 6th in the NBA in defensive rating. So there's a stat to back that up. You want to hear a crazy one on James Harden? Outside of the Wizards game, he's now shooting 8 for 56 from three-point range. Let's focus on the Nets now. We saw tonight Kyrie Irving, a season-high 10 assists. The team, 26 dimes together. That's a very good sign if you're Kenny Atkinson, that you were trying to figure out how you get a flow and how you get everyone involved. It seemed like this was the first game in which they had a good balance with this team.
Every time I can see double-digit assists from Kyrie, I know that this is the way I feel he should be able to play, because I think he's so good, Coach, to be able to get his own shot. When you have other players and talented players around him, you have a Joe Harris, a shooter, you have a lob guy in Jared Allen as a point guard. When you have some guys who can shoot, then you have some slashing guys. That's a point guard dream. I have a dunker, a lobber, a guy who can shoot, and then some slashers. And then my ability to be able to score at the end. This is the way I think Kyrie should be able to play, because it's so easy for him, Coach, to get 30 or 15 and a quarter. I just want to see him do it at the end of games versus at the start of games.
No question. And the thing we've seen in some of these clips is him not hanging on to the ball even to make the assist pass. He was willing to give it up early and let other guys play. That kind of passing, as you know, Smitty, gets contagious, and then everybody's passing the ball.
And when you look at what Kyrie shot from the field, just 38%, and I say just 38% because that's his season low so far this year, but they get the win. If you're Kenny Atkinson, you can go to him, right, say, hey, you assisted tonight a little bit better, and we won the game. This is it seems like a good approach, a good plan for them.
I think anytime you can have, you start looking at letters, the W and L, that's the one thing I go to. I mean, you're always going to want to tweak as a coaching staff and as a player individual. You want to get better. You don't want to shoot 7 for 18. But I sleep a little bit better, Coach, 7 for 18 with a W versus a loss. So I think he can correct that. And this is a guy that can really correct him getting 50% because he's so good. So I wouldn't worry about Kyrie shooting percentages, especially if you're getting W's.
And Stan, I might be focusing on that 7 for 18 a little bit too much as well. When we look at the true shooting percentage, Kyrie was 5 for 8 from three-point range. So that should be factored into the equation as well when we talk about the advanced stats.
There's absolutely no question. That's 19 points on 18 shots from the field. You're going to take that. It's not great in today's game, but it's still okay. When you combine it with 10 assists and down the stretch, made some big shots, got into some isolations. They know who the guy is at that point in the game.
When you look at the Houston Rockets, and we saw the defense by Russell Westbrook late in the game, and you know that they're capable of it, but you don't see it for 3, maybe 3.5 quarters. Like you said earlier, does that really concern you with their approach? I know Mike D'Antoni, that's kind of been how his teams are, but if they're going to try to compete at a championship level, do you want to see that defensive attitude be there a little bit longer?
Absolutely. You've got to build habits. Like, to think you're just going to get to April and May and say, oh, okay, now we'll guard. I'm not going to buy that. And the Rockets have their own history, right, where they almost made it to the finals. Had Chris Paul not gotten hurt, Smitty, Game 7, they were a top 10 defensive team that year. So they know that's part of it, and yet I don't see a sense of urgency out there from them to guard. They're trying to win games on their offense. In the playoffs, you're going to play against the best people. You go into a series, you're going to have to win a game or two in that series when you're not at your best offensively and you got to dig in defensively. This team right now, not doing it.
Certainly that was the mantra for the Golden State Warriors when they were winning